You know, if you fish, you've had experienced some bad fishing days, that I'm sure of. Well, you're going to have to go a long ways to find fishing any worse than what I've found on my favorite lake, or close lake. That would be Boone Lake in northeast Tennessee. It's the closest lake to home, and the easier, being close, it's easier to fish, more convenient. But about 7 years ago, they found a leak in the dam. So TVA lowers most of their lakes in the fall and bring them back up in the spring. So you got a summer pool and a winter pool elevation. Well, when they found that leak in the dam, they took the lake down to its winter pool level plus several more feet. And it stayed down low like that for almost 7 years. But the first year or two, when they had the lake down, when spring, summer fishing come along, the water level was still at winter pool. So it greatly reduced number of acres of water. And the fish was somewhat concentrated. Well, you can't imagine how good the fishing was. I mean, my land living. I mean, particularly for the fish that I like to fish for, my favorite fish is stripers and hybrids. My gosh, in your wildest imaginations, you can't imagine how good it was. I've got friends that fished all over the world, fished Canada, Alaska, South America. They fished everywhere, and all of them said they'd never seen fishing that good. It was awesome. You could go down on a slow day, and you go down just fishing a few hours, not all day, but just fishing several hours. You catch 50 good fish. I'm talking about hybrids in the 4 to 12 pound class, and stripers in the 20 to 35, 40 pound class. Particularly 20 to 30 pounders. My land lived. You just couldn't imagine. And on a typical day, in that same amount of time, you'd catch 75 or 80. And if it was a good day and they was really filling the roach, you'd catch 150 in a half a day fishing. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Well, it kind of went down a little bit over each year after that, but it was still awesome fishing. Even there toward the very last, before they raised the water level back up, it was good fishing, awesome fishing. Well, while the lake was down, in those several years, there's all kinds of trees and brush and everything else grew up around that exposed shoreline. And TVA got in there and they bush hogged a lot of it, cut a lot of it. A lot of the landowners cut some of it. But there was about 500 acres or so that was cut, but there's lots and lots of acreage of shoreline that was not cut. It was not timber. So, long story short, we got tons of brush and trees and stuff where normally had good clean banks that's easily fished. Well, now it's just a jungle. It's a frippin' mess underneath that water. Where they'd bush hogged everything, cut everything, Lord have mercy, and the normal amount of trees and stuff that come down, floating down the river and fill up the lake. The lakes are just absolutely a mess to try to fish right now. So when the lake come up last year, I went down a few times. I went down, I think it's 7 times. If you'd told me that I'd made 7 trips to Boone Lake not catching stripers or hybrids, I'd say, what have you been smoking? But it was awesome fishing. Well, when they brought that lake up, it's a nightmare. I mean, you're trying to troll with all the trash and stuff on it is an exercise in frustration. And furthermore, TVA, according to TWRA rather, they said when they brought the lake down to winter pool, that you had half the acreage that you had before. So they're, hybrids and stripers are a stock situation. They don't reproduce, so they got to be raised and turned loose as little fingerlings, Well, TWRA decided that they had half as much water, so they're going to stock half as many fish. So, and it takes several years for these fish to mature. So when you cut your stocking down to half of what it was, that don't bode well for the future. Well, anyway, then along come COVID, so they didn't produce anything. Now, what COVID really had to do with raising the fish in a hatchery, your guess is as good as mine. But anyway, they did not raise any fish, and they did not stock. So for a while, they stocked at half rate, and then they just didn't bother to stock at all. Well, then they raised the lake back up. Oh, my land 11. You got all the trash, all the junk, all the trees. It's mind-boggling, the trash on the lake. All the brush that's growing out in it. I mean, it's just extremely difficult fish. Plus, if they stocked half rate, because they figured they got half as much water, they stocked half as many fish, and then they didn't even bother to stock there for a while at all. But even if they had kept stocking at half rate, if you got half as much water, so they stock half as many fish, now all of a sudden you're back to normal, you got twice the water that you had. So you got twice as much water, and they're stocking at half rate. Prior to that means to me that you got about 25% of the fish per acre. This is if they'd have kept stocking all along. But they didn't. COVID, they didn't stock at all. So, but they did stock some, last year they stocked a bunch of little bitty fingerling Florida bass. And they're the TWRA and all the talking game warden, and they're just all excited about how good the fishing's going to be in the future. Well, it might be for bass or something. I don't know. I don't know, but I know the fish that I like to fish for, the stripers and the hybrids. My God, it's a pitiful situation. And whether they've even stocked any more than that, I don't know. I've got to get to a biologist and talk to him, find out what in the devil's going on. But it's just terrible, terrible fishing. So I went down yesterday, and for the first time in quite a while, I went down and I fished, and unbelievable. I fished hard, fished long, hard day. I trolled. I trolled shallow, deep, in between. I cast shallow. I went there from the top water to down about as deep as I could conveniently fish, which was about 25, 30 feet. So I fished from top water down 30 feet or so. Various sections of the lake. I tried, like I said, I tried trolling, I tried casting, and I used bait. I bait fished quite a bit. And my total catch was 0. I never even got a hit that I know of, nothing. It's just absolutely the worst fishing you could possibly imagine. Gas prices are through the roof. Cost a fortune just to go, even to the closest lake, which is Boone. But my God, the fishing on it, at least for the stripers and hybrids, at least for a while, I'll go a few more times and see if I can unravel that puzzle down there and catch something. I don't know, but to go to a lake that's further off, I mean, if you're working on anywhere near a fixed income, it's just too expensive to go. These outrageous gas prices. I don't mean to get political, and I'm not going to really get into that per se, but I'm just going to say that on election day of 2020, gas was $1.43 here. 4 months later, it was $2.80. And then in less than a year, it was up to $3.30, $3.40. Now along comes situation in the Ukraine, and it's really going up. But man, it was in bad shape prior to that. I'm just going to say, if you got an energy policy that promotes and encourages domestic production, to me that just makes sense. And when you got an administration that does everything they can to curtail domestic production, and you depend on your weak allies or downright enemies for your fuel supply, to me, just don't make sense. I look at things simple. We got plenty of gas and oil here in this country. We should be producing it, not curtailing it. We should be producing it. Then you don't depend on your enemies for your fuel. That just doesn't make a lick of sense to me. We've got more gas and oil in this country than all the OPEC nations combined. And why in the world are we importing stuff? Just don't make sense. And when it gets so bad you can't even afford to go fishing, it's time to say something. Lord help us all. Anyway, we had fishing's bad on my favorite lake. How long it's going to take it to come back, I don't know. How long will it be before you can even afford to go if it does come back? I don't know that either. All I know is I guess I'm going to have to try to find some alternative to fishing, because it's just plumb disgusting. No fish and high gas prices. Sorry situation. It just don't get any more terrible. The fishing situation is terrible. What else can I say? Talk soon. Yeah, it don't make sense to leave a good-looking woman like that. Just to go fishing. That's what I'm You doing?
Pretty good, bud. How you doing?
Well, I stopped by the bank on the way down, took out a loan for a tank of gas.
Hey, no kidding, brother. Thank you, Brandon. You know.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, man. Man might as well just keep his battery charged and troll around.
Do what?
I said, a man might as well just keep his battery charged and troll around.
Yeah, if you can afford to drive down here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Lord, have mercy.
It's awful, brother.
Oh, shit.
Hopefully we get us a new president here before long. Something will change.
Well, on election day, gas was $1.43 at one
Yes,
place.
sir, it was. Cheapest it's been in a long time, wasn't it?
Look at it now.
Good luck to you.
300% higher. That's crazy.
Ridiculous what it is.
Good luck to you.
You too, buddy.
Well, I just got 4 rods baited, set out, so now I'll wait a little while, see if anything happens. Well, I trolled up and down this bank here for a little ways, and all I managed to do there was get hung up. There's an awful lot of brush, trees standing out in the water. Anyway, I trolled not too long, maybe a quarter mile, nothing but a hang up. So I decided, well, let's give the water cold, so let's give the bait fishing a try. So I got 4 rods baited up. We'll just sit and wait and see what happens for a few minutes. If nothing, we'll go back to trolling. We'll go up here and try a different section, maybe up around House Point. Right now, all these rods are just sitting there like a knot on a log. Well, I have sat here, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes without a bite, so it might be time to move here in just a minute. If they're here and they're going to bite, they're going to bite. If they're not, you might as well go look for them. Well, I'm going to take up my lines and move. One. Two. that one. goodness. Talk about slow. I have not got the first hit on anything, bait or trolling. Gosh, ever since they raised this lake up, it has been tough. Now, do I really need to go to other lakes? Can't afford the gas to go there. Looking tough. I will give it up. I've never hit slow. There has been absolutely nothing. So, my suggestion is we go to the house. That's my suggestion. Let me get these. Get all these rods in. forks of the river. When I get to that, I'm gonna roll her up. I'll give it those next few minutes anyway. Here's the forks of the river. Think you get something through there. Up at the bottom of this one right here. Well, at least I don't think he got hung up, so. Turn this thing off and head to the ramp. fill the first bullet here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Standing right there together. I'm headed to the house empty-handed. But it's not from lack of trying. I tried hard. But we've been deer hunting, been all right, because there's a pile of deer here at the boat ramp. No fish, but a lot of deer. Anyway, head home, see that woman of mine, and a bite to eat, something to drink. Been a long, rather cold afternoon. I was the last person to tramp. I was the dumbest one on the lake. I stayed longer than anybody. Was that safe for me? Not a whole lot. Goodness gracious. What a day. Cost you a fortune to come down here and get skunked. I might have to be forced to go to another lake. Boone is frustrating compared to what it used to be. I mean, it's really a frustrating lake. So we got two extremely frustrating lakes here. Boone and Patrick Henry. Boone used to be good, but right now it ain't worth a flip. Patrick Henry, in my opinion, has never been any good. But that's the way it goes, I reckon. Holston's always been tough. Watauga, I mean, the 4 lakes that we've got within a reasonable amount of driving time here are tough. My gosh, look at the deer over there. They run around this area by the herds. There's herds of them. Everywhere you look, there's a herd of deer. Good. Anyway, the end of a frustrating day.